Thank you, Shepard, and welcome back. Meanwhile, vacation is over to our vets now, but is anyone in Congress scrambling now? Welcome, everyone. I'm Neil Cavuto, and as Congress returns from its July 4th break, it has 16 working days before its next break. It's August recess, and still no break for our veterans. They're still waiting for care, and they're still waiting for answers. In fact, they're waiting for anything. To Capitol Hill senior producer Chet Pergram on how long they might have to wait. Chet.
Yeah, they are still not much further along than they were just before the 4th of July break here at trying to get a way to get this VA bill through. It's been passed by the House. It's been passed by the Senate. They need to blend these bills together, and the hang-up is still the cost. Now, the Congressional Budget Office, that is the official scorekeeper for Congress. They do all the tabulation here, and I'm told that what they're trying to do is get certain sections of this bill, which is estimated anywhere to be $35 to $44 billion. That's the worst-case scenario. And say, well, what if A? If A, then B. If B, then C. And try to make this a little more palatable from the fiscal side of the ledger to lawmakers, because otherwise this is unpaid for. It's extra money on the debt, and people don't want to be choosing here. I talked to one aide earlier today, and he said to me, look, he said, we got to get this done. We want to do it, but there's no roadmap yet. And again, the goal before the 4th of July, Neil, was to have this framework somehow worked out so that they could present this to the lawmakers at the 4th of July recess and then come back and maybe, get this done. But they're not much further along now than they were a week or so ago.
All right, so if they're not that much further than a week or so ago, and it takes time to dot the I's across the T's, how realistic is it to assume that they can cobble their differences and iron out some sort of a plan to get on the president's desk before they go for August recess?
Well, again, that's the next target date here. You know, you got to remember that the Senate bill passed 93-3. That is a significant vote. And people said, well, what about the cost there? And I had one Republican senior leadership aide say to me rather snarkily, they said, well, Senator Ted Cruz voted for this, so he must think this is good fiscal sound policy for America. So there is a goal to get this done. The other thing that we're going to kind of meddle this a little bit the next couple of days is Robert McDonald, the VA secretary. We've learned this in just the past half hour. Will come up to meet with Bernie Sanders, the independent senator from Vermont, who chairs the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, to start the confirmation process. That happens tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. But we still don't know whether or not they can get him confirmed before the August recess. I mean, that's going to be a rush to get him through, make sure there's no hiccups with him, introduce him to all the senators. Again, he's somebody who's a little bit of an unknown quantity. He comes from the business world, Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati. And, some folks at Procter & Gamble and some people who watch him, they're not exactly impressed with him. Granted, he came to P&G at a time when the fiscal crisis, the financial crisis hit the United States, and they said he was trying to implement reforms, but it was taking too long to change the ship at Procter & Gamble. Well, here we are with the VA, the same problem there. It's a big agency, and will it take too long to change the ship at the Veterans Administration?
But the truth is, Robert McDonald did have power to fire people over at P&G and set the ship right. That was then. We'll see what he has power-wise now. Chad, thank you very much, my friend.
Anytime.
So we're talking about a month here, right? What can be done in a month? Well, what if I told you plenty? Because after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the U.S. military so dramatically ramped up building emergency warships called Liberty ships that at its peak, 2 to 3 of them were being completed each day. It took Thomas Jefferson all of 17 days to write the Declaration of Independence. Boeing is able to build one of its next-generation 737 jetliners every 11 days. 11 days. And who could forget this?
Houston, we've had a problem. Hey, I want to say you guys are doing real good work.
Indeed, they did have a problem, a big problem, but it took the crew of Apollo 13 to ground control well, get a load of this. 18 hours to fix that problem and prevent a calamity. So you see where we are going here. Congress needs to get cracking. Army veteran Alex Nicholson says it could be done in 2 weeks if Congress would simply put its mind to it. He is with the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. You're quite right. If there's a will, there's a proverbial way. We've shown it in the past when it comes to matters far less important. So why not now?
Well, that's the question on the table. Congress certainly could have already gotten this done. That week before they went on July recess, they could have really gotten down to work, but they had to do a public meeting for the conference committee. They could have, wrapped it up with staff during the July 4th recess. Now they have a couple weeks left, like you mentioned earlier, before their next recess, 16 days. If they don't get it done, we say they don't need to go on recess. They need to get this wrapped up because they need to walk and chew gum at the same time.
I would almost beg a lawsuit if I were coming in to head the VA, and not wishing McDonald ill, but just come in and say, you didn't give me the power, nor do I have it now, technically, to fire people or hold agencies accountable, but I will. You could sue me later, and we'll deal with the details later, but I'm coming in, guns a-blazing. What's wrong with that type of attitude?
Well, the next VA secretary needs that type of attitude. He needs to come in guns a-blazing because there's a lot of problems within the agency. There's a lot of promise within the agency, and it does a lot of good work, but we really need a bunker buster secretary to come in there and dig down deep. He needs to have the authority to fire the people who aren't doing their jobs, to get rid of, and we need to criminally prosecute the people who are screwing over veterans and causing them to be on these secret wait lists and die from not getting care. So we really need a secretary like that to come in there and get to the bottom of some of these problems. You
know what I always think, Alex, and part of my French here, that I think we get it ass backwards. We're so intent on punishing those who did screw the veterans around and mistreat them, and there's, I believe, a strong urge to do that, and we should do that. But for now, we've got to address this wait list. We've got to address these who wait so long for care that it compromises their health and their very lives, and come back and get these charlatans afterwards. But we're putting sort of like the cart before the horse here.
Well, like I said, we've got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time.
They can't do that in Washington. They can't do it. Even though they've proven in the past building warships and the like, when everyone gets on the same page, they can do it.
You're right. I mean, there are already efforts underway to actually get the folks off the secret wait list, to get them the care they need. The VA's actually done a decent job of stepping up and trying to get in touch with those folks and bring them in. But, we're sitting here waiting on, and VA's waiting on Congress to authorize a much larger toolbox. They've really got to get this legislation done so the VA can use the private sector if it needs to, so they can get in and fire people and get people in there who can do the job. We've really got to expand the VA's toolbox, and that's one thing Congress has got to actually get its act together and finish, so that McDonald can actually get in there if he's confirmed and hit the ground running, because we need
but you know what happens,
though?
Republicans worry about the cost, as they should. Democrats worry that there's going to be pell-mell firing. I guess to a degree they should. You don't want to get the good out with the bad. But I think they're too rigid in their sort of philosophical views on this to get past that and just help the vets now. So I say, put blinders on, get past whatever biases you have, just get the help out there immediately, and we'll argue over some of the finer points later. For now, vets are dying. We don't want that.
You're right. There has been a lot of goodwill, especially with the emergence of this the healthcare crisis and the access crisis they've learned about in the past couple of months. There has been a lot of goodwill. They are actually at the table. One of the funny things about this conference committee and the VA bill is so many of the staff have actually never even participated in a conference committee, because it hasn't happened on VA bills since 1999. So finally they're at the table. Finally they're at the table working together, trying to get this done. They just got to get it done before the August recess.
Yeah, I think you're right. Everyone read up name tags. Hi, I'm not a jerk. You don't seem to be a jerk. Let's shake hands. You're right, Alex. Thank you very, very much. Good having you on.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your service. In the meantime, does this make you want to fly? I mean, this is real footage. How scary is that? Look how close these two jets came from colliding. Is anyone worrying? Anyone?